tournament for them so far. And of course, you know, as was noted before, double 61. Honestly, you know, if we think all the way back to our previous live EMEA finals, we were so excited about KC Double 61 coming out of that event. It's lovely to see them back here in the Golden Spatula Cup #2, doing it so well.
Yeah, a little thing to note here, right? I misremember a little bit. Kenobi did not make the last day. He finished 23rd, 1 point away from going in on tiebreakers. So again, it's a player that's already had a really strong performance so far in the Golden Spatula Cup here. Now he's going to be almost guaranteed to make it to today for at this point, right? He's been having such a strong open here. So double, we've seen him start pretty much anything today. We've seen him start the glove earlier on. Now he's going to be starting the rod. So it's interesting to see where this is going to go.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, keep in mind, we still haven't seen a triple prismatic lobby. So for me, that's definitely where I hope this game is going. Maybe chat is with me on this one. I surely hope so, just for entertainment purposes, as most of these players should be safe for the qualifier tomorrow. We'll see how they do. If someone goes 8th twice, then it could look a little bit different. But right now, they're all doing mighty fine. During our tournament, we're seeing Mirage come in, Electric Overload. How do you feel about that, Peter?
I kind of like it. It's one of those ones that took me a while to realize it doesn't just work on being hit, but it also deals on hits you deal. So you can absolutely get a lot of knowledge out of not just having a strong Leona frontline, but also having a Yone smacking away at people if they're 2-star and doing some significant damage as well. I think it does depend on finding those units pretty early on and getting the right kind of setup, but I hope we see somebody take it.
There's also the Leona reroll. I don't think we're going to be seeing it, but there is a Leona reroll thing where you go Ionic Spark. Is it Redemption of Warmarks or anything like that on her? And then she's
I'd imagine.
Yeah, I've never played the comp myself. I know like a few people that are, you know, taking offense up. Mandu here with a very, very high gold opener. But guess
yeah, I mean, it's very nice augments, but I was hoping it's prismatic, so that's why I sounded a little bit disappointed there. However,
that's some quite high expectations, though.
I mean, yeah.
Let's look up what the chances makes, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think you really like Ascension at the moment, but Mandu going for better together here, which will not do too much in the early stages of the game, I would figure, since you just don't have that many units on the board yet that could gain a benefit from that Solari, but I think later on will be really, really nice, now that you can build your whole board around it.
I would actually come against that somewhat, because at the moment the amount of health the units have is actually kind of small, and you're right, there aren't very many units on the board at all. But in terms of what proportionally this level 2 shield is doing for you, it's a ton of extra shields. You can see that there. The only problem I think that Unlucky's got is that they don't have a lot of damage. So while their team will last a long time, I don't know if they're actually going to be able to burst through. It's going to be kind of tight.
Actually, really interesting. KC double on round 2-1 already on the scale score 4, of course, having that crest there. But maybe that's a signal. I'm really hoping we're going to see another Scale 6 game.
I mean, even getting into a stage 1, you'll need another augment or another spat to come through, right? And again, you can't make a Scale emblem, so you have to really look at looking at Abaizclutch here on the choice on augment. I've been lacking a lot recently. Brubbba opening up with the hotshot. Pretty much generic opening here when you look at Kenobi. Nothing else really here.
So yeah, we're gonna go on over to Kenobi as you spoke about him. Of course, Augment still showing on the left side. We have Thrill of the Hunt on his side. Definitely an Augment that has been getting a lot of showtime throughout this tournament. So, but yeah, Runans and Olaf already secured as well. Definitely maybe a direction that he wants to take. Maybe go find an assassin spat.
I mean, I'm sure that Double 61 hopes that's not the case, because that's going to really slow down any potential chance of hitting the 3-star. You know, 3-star Olaf, 3-star Diana's, which you know are super crucial. And based on what we've seen previously, even if you were to hit the 3 stars, we still don't know you're necessarily going to end out on top.
Rita, you wanted to say something?
I mean, I had pretty much the exact same point as Peter.
Okay.
Peter.
I just didn't want to
feel really smart now.
A very smart boy who has ascended to the...
Yes!
He's gone from a 4-head to a 5-head, right? He's still
Take that, internet!
Go to a 7-head, but we'll get there at the end of the day, alright? And Kenobi, despite having Fill the Hunt can kind of work in multiple ways, right? Because it can either really help you manifest your win streak, and also help secure your very good loss streaks. And it looks like it's been doing the latter right now for him.
Yeah, I mean, not an easy matchup for him with the enemy board on the trade sector, of course, having a lot of 2 stars already, the Kermer, the Ash, there was a set 2, so not going to be the easiest matchup, but the Olaf is still going, and looks like it's working out this time.
Yeah, Runan's very good at this type of matchup, right? Because again, it allows you to just get rid of the statues and stuff like that, so just something that needs to keep an eye out for here. Approaching the Carousel. Carousels are nice, we love them. They go around. They have items on them. Items are good, items are fun. Kenobi opting for a sword.
Thank you so much for that.
This is some rich content we're getting here. I'm here for it. So let's take a chance to glance at what we've got going on in the overall lobby then. Kaspersky, the only person on the win streak as of 2-4. We've seen plenty of lobbies before. We've had 2 different players contesting for that. Kenobi down the other end, presumably on that full loss streak. But again, we're not seeing that big separation from either side. Kenobi presumably managing their loss streak fairly well.
Yeah, so Kaspersky, we just saw in the previous game, already has Idas here on 2-5. Definitely going to be a really, really strong front line and allows you to have that needlessly big gem. Of course, with 19 gold, that's not going to do too much right now, but it is an extra item that you have.
Yeah, I mean, and also worth noting here, right, that going into this patch, gem was actually buffed now, so it went from being free, counting every 3 units, to counting 2 units, right? Which is going to be a pretty big one when you look at like how much gold you're able to generate in these earlier stages of the game, because very regularly it was just going to be one, just going to be 1 goal pretty much, like like 1 trigger of it. And this opener I think is pretty interesting to look at here while you're looking at a last little stand already. That's pretty much intent, because there are pretty much only 1 carry in the game that really utilizes Last Whisper. That is going to be Corky. And also, Senna got adjusted a little bit where she had her AD nerf but had the base magic damage of her ability buffed. So I'm interested whether or not we're going to be seeing like any AP items on base. It means that actually he's a very good user of something like a Rage Blade now as an item holder for Corky, because like she just has that much more damage to amplify.
Oh gosh, there's a lot to unpack there because firstly, what they've got to focus on right now is that they've got the win streak intact. They've got themselves a strong board. You said the big gem. Right now, it seems like no one can really bust through the Idas front line, and so we're getting the 2 gold payout per round, that big damage boost. But against Guille, who's got themselves a pretty solid setup, this could be the end of the line, 1 short of Krugs.
Now, I do want to mention, with this lobby in particular, some of these players have different in-game names than what they're normally referred to. Just to mess with us. I think, I don't know, at this point, I feel like it's a personal affront to the casters or to the production. I don't know, of course not, but like they don't have their normal username. So if we're talking about Lelouch, then that would be Nadim, for example. And if we're talking about Abaiz, that is a rank 1 Eoni TFT. And if we talk about Mandu, we're referring to Unlucky Hunter. I just want this one in the books. It's not easy to follow, I know. So we'll try to kind of keep you in the loop with that. But just in case we're talking about a name and you can't find it, that's the reason.
Worth noting here as well, this is pretty interesting, deciding to keep the Senna on the bench because you might want to sell the Senna, because you might, if you end up getting a Jinx, for example, coming through here or anything like that. You can even get something like a Corky, for example, from like a golden box. It's very fringe, like it's incredibly fringe to look at, but it's not necessarily something that is too out there, especially with the gold coming through from the gem as well. And a lot of this has been accelerated by the fact that I do believe it's going to be, like, he has True 2s as opening argument here, right? A lot of the gold that's going to come through from that has just been very good from, I can't say Hand of Justice, not the end of the world, actually pretty good one. Hand of Justice plus Sunfire Cape, if you want to play for full-on tempo, yeah, and I really like this approach from Kaspersky.
So looking across the economic field right now, everyone's looking relatively comfortable when it comes to the goal. Of course, Kaspersky, buoyed by that needlessly big gem, is very, very happy indeed with the 5 streak. We're not actually seeing too many major loss streaks right now. Lelouch is the one who's closest on 3, but across the rest of the field, it's looking actually relatively calm.
Yeah, I mean, it is the early stages of the game, but we will be going to our augments after this PvP round, and I'm really excited for that. Kenobi's board is building out to have that Olaf grow stronger and stronger. It's still on 1 star, but with the Giant Slayer and Runons providing so much, assumedly also has that passive stacked up a little bit at this point. We'll get another stack here as Olaf goes down, but it should be enough as the Leona provides the last hit and we see our augments.
Alright, so what have we got on the table here? Heroic Presence. We are in an Electric Overload lobby, so in a different world, maybe we could have been seeing that Mirage setup going. Fortunately, it seems like we haven't been good enough this year to see a full field of electric explosions.
Oh, that's a corky.
A quirky on 3-2, yeah. I mean, not necessarily what Guillosko was looking for, but finds it here, so whoop, is going to sell it off again. I love when players do that. There's the Tom Ken, she had a Tristana, and so on, but we'll go for the Volibear here.
Okay, so that's why.
Dragonmancer angle.
So there's a Volibear angle with the Rageblade plus. It's Rageblade plus QSS, right? That's the. This is pretty much, baseline for Volibear, and you need a healing option here. Most people prefer Bloodthirster, which is pretty much guaranteed here, right, when you're looking at it. What I don't necessarily like is the fact he gone to 0, but it's worth noting that even without Legend in as of right now, Volibear 2 is going to be very, very, very stable. It's going to be so stable. I say that and it's going to die. No healing option here, meaning that he's not going to be stable for now.
To be fair, Brubbba has Death Defiance on a Siphon, and we've been on this for all of this weekend. The Siphons are just so strong still. And if you find it, I mean, on 3-2, you're going to have a good time.
Double upgrades
as well. Amazing time. So for what we're seeing here from the legendary setup here, I believe makes when we were looking through some of the fields yesterday, there were a few players trying for this Volibear setup. I'm trying to draw to mind how well they ended up doing.
Actually, I can tell you. So out of the 6 legend games that our qualified players played, all of them placed in the top 4. So right now, this seems to be doing quite well based on the stats that I have from yesterday.
It's also worth noting, right, one of the reasons why that is the case is because whenever you play for this composition, it's not a blind hard force unless you're one trick, right? So if you're playing this in a tournament situation, it's because you look at the opening you're looking at with Rageblade, QSS, and even like a BT almost ready to go as well. Like if you have those spots to play it from, that is when it starts looking really nice for you.
Alright, we're checking with Rank 1 and Kenobi. Rank 1 on a very impressive win streak right now. Capacity, of course, remains undefeated at the top, so these two very much on a collision course for the future. But for now, they've avoided each other, and they can keep on reaping the rewards of their win streaks.
Yeah, we are seeing the components powered by Blitz.gg on the left side of the screen. These are the components the player currently have on their boards, and we can see what they're picking up, of course, in the wheel. Casey Double going for that tier, and now our top 2 players get the rest, and actually a bow and a rod as well as a crit glove left. Not bad picks.
There's a 4-cost rod as well, right? I'm not tripping here for Abaizclutch.
Yeah, I think you saw that correctly.
Look at this buff from Kaspersky though, right? Like he's 90 gold, he's just chilling here. He gets the amplification from the gem. Can even just level up to put the Twitch in, and just slowly but surely. Is this going to be another game of like trying to move this? Okay, it's not. There is a hot shot here, so it's not going to be a game of trying to move this into a Sire like we saw from Visor yesterday. Thank God, I almost feel like saying to a certain extent, right? Because like, Sire right now is in a bit of a rough spot. However, Kaspersky is not in a rough spot, one would assume, at least. Brubba's board, we've seen this before with the Siphon, so maybe that's going to be what's going to break the streak.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Peter.
I'll say, we've not got the major tankiness and major damage right now for this Siphon, so it's, it's decently strong, but it's not strong quite enough, I think. The gem goes off, and Brubbba will become another victim. It makes, yes, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say, I really don't know how they pair up at this point. Of course, yeah, that's with the Needlessly Gem, and then in the backline you have the Senna, which is a 1 cost, but she has the Last Whisper and the Hodge, and she just provided so much damage while Idas was doing all the tanking in the front line. Thankfully, Siphon just charging in the other direction, not getting close to her. And there's a Shyvana on 3-6 here for Mandu.
What?
And that is a straight up swap here. Has a lot of the Rage Wing core already set up here. Finds the Saya as well to complete the 6 Rage Wing if he wants it. No.
He also has a Pike?
Why not?
Wants it instead.
What do you guys think? So we've got the early Shyvana here for Unlucky. Unlucky is currently on a 5-round loss streak, and they've got no money in the bank at all. Do you guys think, is this the setup they need to get back in the game?
I mean, very well could be. I think that's the big one here right now. It's one of the reasons why, especially when you're going to these boards here with a lot of the Jade stuff on it, should be at least a guarantee when it comes to unit kills most of the time. And look at the amount of damage here it's going to be dealing in this Lee Sin. While Lee Sin is doing quite well, it's not going to be able to do enough there. So
one more breath. She's going to get kicked, but it won't matter.
Oh my gosh, do we get the Shyvana to do her ultimate by just chancing at her?
I mean, that's how I've been playing my games. I don't know about you.
That's the secret to climbing.
Life totals here, by the way, are very much still intact, right? Like if you disregard A-base and you disregard Kishiverski, right? These HP totals are very much in line. Double is still feeling themselves quite well here, right, with a streak, but from Brubbba and down, it doesn't take more than a couple of fights for this to really flip on its head. So that's going to be the interesting one to follow here as well. Mandu, again, getting an unstable item, 2 decent components to play around in the in a chain vest and a glove. Could even go for slamming a Shroud if you really felt like it. I was considering this, but not this going to be the case here because of the way he's been playing out this transition, right? That the second the Xiaoyu comes into position here, it might just be trying to move these items around. So it's going to be Xiaoyu with the BT Titans and move the Archangels over to the Anivia. And it looks like it will be the case here. So very interesting to see how this is going to pan out.
Oh, that's actually... Bring it up. Just as the point that the right now, Mandu has got nearly no money at all. So the idea of ever seeing that Shyvana hitting, 2-star, feels like it's so incredibly far away. Up against rank 1 EUNE TFT. Gosh, that's a mouthful. They've got themselves their first Xiaoyu. I have to imagine that in this case we're seeing 2 players who are looking to transition their dragons long term.
No idea what this double gunblade is going to be. I feel like I don't know, double gunblade. It's not BIS and anything here. Talking about BIS though, Portable Forge coming through. We talked about it. It's the most picked one. It's the most popular augment in the game, pretty much. That's a Blessing 2 also quite good at the end of the day.
And it's going to be a reroll.
I mean, I can see that, right? Because you don't have a clear direction for what you want your Portable Forge item to be. You're just getting more components here or getting a combat augment. Probably would be able to.
So this is really interesting right now. Sorry, but like we still have the Shyvana on the board. We have 2 copies of Swain in the backline. There was a Tom Kantra at some point, or is still gonna get sold off here. And Mandu is just rolling and rolling down to 0, looking for direction, looking for options to go for it. Did want to go with the Jade, now finds the Anivia 2 after selling off the Xiaoyu. It just seems like there's so much chaos in this building of the board, and he doesn't know where he's taking this ride.
No, that's going to be frustrating. I mean, while the players we're seeing right now, while they are probably about as safe as they could be at this point in the competition, if they have a bad finish here in this game, then have another bad finish afterwards, it's still possible to end up being knocked out of the top 16. And I'm absolutely with you. For Mandu here, it does not feel like they're having the best game right now. At least they've, I was to say, at least they managed to keep themselves alive for a while with Guillosko just below them, but I can see them easily heading for a low finish.
So let's have a look at, I don't know how to say this, Guillosko, I would assume.
Guillosko.
It's a Spanish. Guillosko?
Yeah,
see, I'm trying my hardest here.
To unmute here and just be like coming through with the perfect pronunciation, then doing his endless duties. That would be interesting, right? But he's on the ledger that we're talking about,
production
right?
in Spanish as well. So, yeah, we are on the board of our Spanish player with 24 HP in round 4-3. The Treasure Drake is still quite far off, and a lot of HP has been lost. 3 losses down, and the Legend Volibear has been built, but still missing 1 component to have those 3 items.
I'd love to have the Bloodthirster to keep up in the midst of all this firepower. Does seem to be doing well enough, though. I think the second wind has helped keep the Volibear up for longer than it would have been otherwise, and be able to get through a good amount of damage. Of course, Guillosko doesn't need to win this round. They are on a loss streak right now, and while their HP would probably like this to change sooner than later, they are at least first out to this carousel to finish off their optimum items.
Okay, at least 2 cloaks here, right? So even if we're going to be seeing Lelouch beelining it for that Nico, for example, that would still be another cloak to work with here. He's going to be beelining that for the Soraka instead, so being picked up by Kenobi. So 2 very high priority legendaries here being put on this carousel right now. Could be game flippers for both Kenobi as well as Lelouch.
Yeah, Kaspersky making a last of the pack here with the vest on the Karma. Not going to be too much of a gold value, but hopefully can do something with that vest. But now Guillosko is on 13 HP, rolling down here, trying to stabilize the board. Finds a Nico, sells it off, and is looking for options here. There's a Hecarim upgrade coming through, and that is the Bloodthirster that you were talking about, Wida. How much of an upgrade is this really for his board right now?
This is kind of where the board actually starts being a thing now, because like without any healing option on the Volibear, it's really hard for them to really stay on top of the fights. And it's again kind of going back to the point I was talking about, where you need very specific spots to play Volibear from, and this is kind of one of them where you need to almost have all these free items ready before you make the transition.
I'm not sure if I'm really high on this, though, because right now we've got 1 Volibear on the bench. I mean, I know you don't necessarily have to hit the Volibear 3 to be able to still make this composition work. Given that we've seen some pretty strong early units, being even on the carousel, I think the overall power of the lobby might be just too much for Volibear 2 to handle.
I think the spike came too soon. I think that's the big one as well, to note, right? But like, with the Volibear spike coming way too late due to the nature of not having the healing option earlier on in the game, as well as you've seen stuff like the random Shyvana that came through, and now it's been the game-defining thing for the opponent just faced, right? There are so many different things that you need to look out for, and again, sometimes Volibear, even if you have best in slot for it, it's not enough.
All right, Guillosko, holding on by a thread. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm certainly, preparing myself as Guillosko's abrupt departure.
New options, but not able to pick them off as level 8 is far away. He doesn't want to go for the Nunu, was probably looking for upgrades on the Ornn or something like that. So hopefully this is enough. Still has a bow on the board, could slam that on any unit really to gain just a little bit of strength here as the Volibear is fighting for his life. He's going to get sliced and diced by that Siphon, but so far is holding on, going to take out the Olaf, trying to get through the Siphon, but one more slash and it takes him out. I don't think he can do this.
Guillosko's not going to even watch themselves die. They're out of there with the instant surrender, and sadly, we will not get to see our bear friend. So now it moves up to see Lelouch playing under Nadim at the moment. They've got themselves a much more coherent board put together, and as well finding the upgrades for the Xiaoyu.
9 Jade here as well, with Jade support in the Eternal Protection, I do believe that is the one, right? So has a very good setup here, mostly upgraded board. Still looking for the Anivia and looking for the probably more importantly, the good old-fashioned Nico in the front line. Not really having any Nico frontline items besides that Ionic Spark currently stock on a Taric. It's going to be a bit of a downside here, but again, I want to highlight something here as well. AP item on the Soraka, with this being the Archangel Staff. I don't know why that's getting my mind for a second, right? We didn't see the item for an entire set, now it's back with a vengeance, right? Sometimes you still need to, if it says okay, here could reforge the Deathblade as well, unless you want to have the Deathblade on Xiaoyu. It's not a horrible option, but it's not a healing option either. So
it's gonna slam it
on later stage in the game. Yeah,
I think
so.
Oh, please.
with the Eternal Protection, you just have a lot more sustain and healing. But I always hear people who go for Jade Calm say that you want like combat augments, you want strength on your augments. Like anything that adds additional damage will help you, as the Archangel that's usually being slammed on Anivia will do the rest of it as Xiaoyu's just, you know, slamming enemy lines. So how do you guys feel about going with Eternal Protection here?
It makes sense, right? We can start looking at the entire package here, also why the Archangel is on the Soraka. These fights are going to be very long, drawn out. You have Ascension, stuff like that being in the making as well. So the longer the Soraka can keep working, the better.
I don't know. I'm gonna come out on the other side of this one. I mean, as well as it's working right now, I kind of see what you're coming from, Makes, in that we're adding healing onto healing here, and relying almost entirely on the damage being put out by Xiaoyu. I mean, the item set we've got right now is very, very good, but if the Xiaoyu ever becomes irrelevant by getting, say, stuck on a tank or similar, then there's really nothing left for the comp to actually do anymore.
Yeah, we are on Mandu's board now, 11 HP, down to the bottom of the pack, could be going out fairly soon. Hasn't found any upgrades to either the Nico nor the Shyvana until now, so maybe just not being able to go anywhere after that really big roll down earlier is probably looking to go for 8 here as he's holding on to the gold, but will need a Siphon too, which looks very scary.
Yeah, this is a rough one, rough position to be in here, right? Coming through and you're looking at it, but at the end of the day, this is just how it looks like. When we saw how lost Mandu looked there for a second, has played very well overall throughout the day. I think that is something that is also worth noting. I think that this Dragon v Dragon here, Flex, Siphon, sure. No. Hamtaro's still alive, or that's a big one.
That's
here, right?
very big for Hamtaro. They've got Lelouch on the team just up above them, and Kenobi as well. There is a good possibility of getting into the top, at least the top 5 here, you know, with 3 players so close to each other on the scoreboard.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Mandu and Lelouch both on 11 and 12 HP, but Kenobi isn't far off. He's on 18, and then there's a big gap to the top 4 currently, who are all above 40 health. So let's see how Kenobi is doing. We did see the Olaf quite early on, so should have a bunch of stacks on the passive at this point. Has the IE, has the Giant Slayer, has the Runans, but we're running 6 Bruiser, 4 Whisper, which is not very meta.
It comes down to looking at the augments again here, right? You're looking at Titanic Strength, which means you can start to kind of transition the Olaf into being a secondary carry. That means the item like Runans goes up in value because you're going to be having higher base AD. There's so many things that you to look out for in that regard.
Yeah. We will. As there are some interesting options, Morello Nomicon on the Zoe, and also the Pike being picked up by Lelouch with that Gargoyles. You guys don't want to talk to me? It's all right. I keep on talking. So Casey Double picks up the Assassin emblem here, and a Shimmer Scale 1 is gonna get left as Kaspersky goes with the IE.
Yeah, and again, you look at it as a Shimmer Scale and a Rage with emblem, you kind of never really want to see those here. Scales gone, yeah, so from Double here, it's going to be an interesting one to follow. This Assassin emblem also is going to be a big one to look out for. Has to remove it. So can remove the item from either the Yasuo or from the Olaf, depending on which one you want to have the Assassin emblem on. And that is going to be the Olaf here.
We have seen before, though, that, you know, with the players who've gone towards the Scale Scorn route, that they are getting relatively hard capped by not actually ever finding what would be the ultimate destination. The 6 Scale Scorn up against Lelouch on the team. I worry that this board just isn't strong enough from Double, but I'm prepared to be proven wrong.
I mean, has decent combat on, like has Spatula and stuff like that. It's not going to be looking perfect here either, but has a little bit of an HP buffer to work with. I think that's going to be the big one to look out for here. As Mandu will be taken out here by Kaspersky, which means that we are at least having people that are going to be guaranteeing a top 6 at the end of the day. Kenobi also being taken low at the end of the day here. Brubbas, good old Siphon Corki build a little bit stronger than the more old school traditional full-on Bruiser approach to playing Siphon, which is not necessarily so good after like it's been reworked. And this board is something that I just love to see, right? Kaspersky here just holding the gold, gets that damage amplification from the needlessly big gem, has a fully upgraded board, does not need to spend on anything either. He is just big chilling right now, free streaking as well. This is just so much gold, man.
Yeah, I mean, he has so much flexibility and freedom to just go to level 9 whenever he feels like it, and then rake up that gold again. So gonna feel very, very confident and happy up there. But right now, Kenobi is fighting for his life as he meets a double, and that Siphon is doing as much as it can, but the enemy Olaf with the assassin spat is just slicing and dicing. Yasuo will ult one more time, and that will be it for that Siphon. Just Yasuo ult coming through, and that will be the end of it. You can see Kenobi's face. He is not happy with that at all.
Throwing up some hands there.
I think he'll survive, right? He's gone 1, 2, 1, 6 with a game to go. I think he's still okay at the end of the day, right?
I don't know,
I
though.
think so.
I mean, you're right. It's not a necessary thing for Kenobi to do well, but they hadn't left the top 2 up until this point, and I think they would have loved to have actually finished the day out as the clear favourite. They might still do that, but I think there's a little bit of pride for Kenobi there that's gotten a little chafe, perhaps.
Yeah, also Brubbba here getting a static shift while he is on that last augment gadget expert, right? You're looking at the items here as well. Very akin to the board that we saw from... I forgot who it is already. Kevin Parker, right? 2 games ago. Very akin to the same kind of setup here.
I think it was Clem.
No, Clem beat Kevin's board to look like this.
Where were you going
Never
with
mind.
this?
Never mind here. Right, but again, it's all about getting that Nomsy up here, static shifts, galore for everybody. Could even move one of those over to the so if you really wanted to get that higher basement and going for a quicker initial cast, stuff like that, right? That's some of the things we got for here.
We have got roll downs, I think, happening across the board. Double going down. Kaspersky as well, who's on a win streak, just dropped a bunch of gold, as did Brubbba. So I think our players are gearing up for what should be one of the kind of final stretch of the game. They're getting their final boards in place, and of course, a lot of those boards are Jade boards.
I mean, you say of course, but yesterday it wasn't like that. We had seen very little Jade. I can't even talk
Send that
anymore.
Jade to jail, yes.
Jail, yeah. That's how I feel about Jade, honestly. So now really coming in hot, and every game we see people going for Jade, finding those Jades, really making that a priority, and it's working out for most of them. But as we speak about it, Abaizclutch getting knocked out here. Rank 1 Uni TFT was his username in the game, -7 HP. And Brubbba, who had found that Siphon so early, now also down to 5 HP. Of course, keep in mind, these are the players that at the start of this game had the highest points in our entire tournament day. So they're not in too much danger going forth here, but of course, the higher the better.
Yes, this is something of a preview of tomorrow's games. We're very, very likely to see all these players back here again. Of course, with the Swiss system, it does mean our players are spending an awful lot of time at the very top playing with, in the same games with each other and learning each other's strengths and weaknesses. We're really looking out for our players coming from the lower parts of the current table, which we'll be seeing in our next game to come, to try and mix things up.
Oh, Lelouch getting knocked out here, -7, goes down 4th as Brubbba secures another round with his 5 HP and is now in the top 3 together with Double and Kaspersky.
Yeah, I feel like we're kind of looking at 3 players that now are for sure guaranteed to be making it on to tomorrow, right? And I think that I always like seeing someone like Brubbba perform quite well, right? He's a nice little jolly character. Also has that amazing moment from last set where he was playing Warwick Revo and just hits the freestyle and just goes and grabs a pizza, right? Like that was one of the more iconic broadcast moments we've had, I'd argue, so far here. And this could also be one of the more iconic ones to look out for here, because Kaspersky, he has to make the investment now to go level 9, but that comes at a cost of the Ascension proc from the Needlessly Big Gem being much weaker than before.
I'm curious, is the Corki on the bench a Corki 2? Because by the size of it,
yes,
it does look like a Corki 2. So he's only missing 3 more Corkis to go Corki 3, but he's gonna take a big loss here as Brubbba takes another win with his Siphon Corki comp.
I think the reason why they feel confident enough to go for that is because there's a Soraka 2 in the mix with Kaspersky already. So they've got the extra, bit of health to allow them to keep alive for long enough, knowing that they've just got a win button at their disposal if they do hit the Corki 3. And if it doesn't work out and they get dropped out here anyway, they're still far enough up the table now, as was said, that it's not going to make a difference in terms of their overall standings.
It is a mage cap with 2-star Pike. Not that there's going to be any mages put into play with the way the board is looking right now, but that is at least a 2-star Pike.
Yeah, I mean, just going with unit over item here, probably didn't see any bigger value in any of the other items. Is missing one Olaf to actually go Olaf 3. So here we go into what could be Brubbba's final round. Seems like we will be meeting him. So he's up against this warrior assassin scale scorn board that Casey double has built. And let's see how he does. The Pike jumping on to Nomsy, actually leaving that Corki alone. So Corki unobstructed can fire off in the background. But is that enough? The Siphon coming in, charging one more time. Pike getting some resets here, but it seems like the Siphon will reign supreme. Oh,
no! Brubbba's face! You can see it there. It echoes of Kenobi from before. That's a big disappointment. And leaves double in prime position to take the game.
Yeah, that's the second time it's happened, right? To say Echo, and it's been at the exact same matchup as well as Siphon v Yasuo, and that is like the biggest enemy of that situation going on right there right now. So a top 2 lobby right now. Looking at Kaspersky versus Casey double, scale scorn with name your emblem available, right? I think that's the big thing to note here. Very good use of Better Together as well. Now Kaspersky down to 0 gold, so there's going to be no amplification from the big gem.
All right, one last fight maybe. If it goes against Kaspersky, at least the Assassin's right into the back line, or at least as close as they can get. We've got ourselves a Corki Palooza on the field, trying to put out just about enough damage. It's going to be tight, but they're caught right in the corner. This is the classic conundrum. You can't access the Corki because everyone else is in the way, but Kaspersky will take the L and drop out. That will be our EMEA regional champion taking game 5.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so I'm going to have nightmares of that situation.